Hello, everyone. I hope all of you guys are doing good and staying safe. So, in the previous live, we saw about how to start your career in DevOps, and I gave you a lot of insights in regards to that. And that's the basics. You do it step by step, and you choose one technology after the other, and you do it one by one, and you are able to cover the entire set of topics for how to start your career in DevOps. But in this video, we are going to see as to how to start your career in cloud. With so many companies who are hiring outside, like Kissflow or CoinDCX or Zeta, there are so many companies out there who are hiring for a position in the cloud engineer space where you are working with cloud-based platforms and infrastructure, as well as something that we saw in the previous video in regards to DevOps tools and practices. So in terms of starting your career with the cloud, I have some notes written down for you guys so that it makes things really easy, so that you can probably get some really good insights to how to start. There is a lot of question around this. There are a lot of people out there who think about how to start their career or probably switch their domain from a different technology to the space of cloud. And there are also a lot of questions that come up in the sense that, can I directly go for the basic certification, or can I go for an advanced level certification because I'm already familiar with the platform? And there are also questions around the lines of, do I need to start with this particular certification, or should I start with this particular technology, and so on? So for all of those questions today, you will possibly get the answer. And I will also answer some of the questions asked in the chat box when you guys post it over here. So I already see one question from Vinod, but I'll take it towards the end of this session. So I'll possibly keep it short, 10 to 15 minutes at the max, and I'll give you all the insights for you to start your career in this space. So I've already shared my screen, so I'm just going to add it to the stream. And these are my notes for today. It's very simple. Okay. To start your career in the cloud, first of all, you need to be really good at some of the basic concepts on which cloud is built. So you have to be good with Linux because you will be working with a lot of Linux based operating systems. So you will possibly work with Red Hat Linux, or you will work with Ubuntu, or you may work with CentOS. So whatever operating system it may be in terms of the Unix or Linux flavor, I would like you to be more confident in regards to Linux. So something like at least understanding how an operating system works, what is the boot process of an operating system, and the main concept that I want you to understand is in terms of control groups and namespaces in terms of Linux. And then I would like you to try out a lot of Linux commands in different categories, like how do you process files, or how do you create a system process, whatever it may be. I want you to practice a lot of Linux commands in different operating systems. So something like trying out the package manager for Ubuntu, which is different than that of CentOS. So once you try out all that, I would like you to go ahead and also learn a little bit more in detail about what kind of operating systems are there so what kind of operating systems are out there, and how do you launch these operating systems, and how do you install these operating systems probably onto your laptop, or probably learn it by launching virtual machines on the AWS side of things, or virtual machines on Azure, or virtual machines on Google Cloud Platform. Okay, so you can also try that out. So once you're confident with Linux, and then you could possibly move towards the area of networking, where at least you should cover these set of topics. So you should cover what is basics of networking, like the OSI model, Open System Interconnection Model, which has the 7 layers, which is the physical, the data link, the network layer, transport, session, presentation, and application, the 7 layers of the OSI model. Then I would like you to also go ahead and cover what is an IPv4 and IPv6 address. And then I would like you to cover what is the difference between a private IP and a public IP. And then I would like you to think about subnetting. Like, how do you take a really big network and how do you subnet it into smaller networks? And then what is the difference between a public subnet and a private subnet? And then I would like you to think about the routing. How do you route your traffic in your network and outside of your network? And how do you think about route tables to manage your routes? And then I would like you to also think about how do you do network address translation, or NAT. So all of these concepts are present in traditional network architecture. And when you think about all of that, and when you learn all of that, your networking on the cloud becomes really, really, really simple. Okay? And then you can get started with any one of the cloud-based platforms. And I have written down the track which we have already discussed in most of our videos out there in our previous lives and in our live with Balaji. We have already discussed this, but I would like to just give it to you in short that when you start your career with cloud practitioner, and it is the basics. The reason why I say learn the basics or revisit the basics is because the basics may change from time to time. So, for example, when you think about the AWS global infrastructure, you have regions, availability zones, and edge locations, but you also have wavelength zones, local zones, and AWS outposts. So, whenever AWS brings out new features, I would like you to always revisit the basics, and Cloud Practitioner is going to give you the basics, and the exam code is CLF-C01. And the duration for completing Cloud Practitioner for all of our viewers who are watching this live, I would like to put out a challenge right now by saying that if you can wrap up Cloud Practitioner within 1 month, you can always come to me and ask for a lot of use case scenarios that you can work on. I'm going to give it to you as a challenge. You can probably even ask me to order something for you on Amazon. I may do it. So just think about wrapping up Cloud Practitioner, which is the basics, within 1 month. And then you can think about moving towards Solutions Architect Associate and take at least 2.5 months in terms of covering the entire content, as well as the labs and the practicals and the use cases. And the exam code for that is SAA-C01. And Solutions Architect Associate talks more about your infrastructure aspects. So, which means how to create a highly available, fault tolerant infrastructure for your applications. And then I would like you to also concentrate on the Developer Associate, where you get knowledge about cloud native DevOps by using the AWS Code Suite services, which is code commit, code build, code deploy, code pipeline, code star, code artifact, and so on. And then the developer associate also gives you knowledge in regards to serverless and SAM. It also gives you knowledge in regards to cloud formation as to how to create your infrastructure through CF. It also gives you knowledge in regards to the ECS service, which is the Elastic Container Service, as to how to run your Docker containers of your application. So all of these concepts are covered in your developer associate, and the exam code is DVA-C01. So within 6 months of time, you should be able to cover all the 3 certifications of AWS with really good in-depth amount of practical knowledge, provided you tried out all of the labs. So for example, where you can try that out is from AWS workshops, from skill builder, as well as from the solutions page. So it's workshops.aws and aws.amazon.com/solutions. And then you have the skill builder page, which they recently introduced to learn all online courses pertaining towards specific domains on the AWS side of things. So once you're wrapped up with AWS, you can ask yourself, can I try attending interviews out there in the market? I would possibly say wait for some more time. Why don't you wait to become better over a period of time and then go for a lot of opportunities at that point of time, which would be more suited to your career, rather than going into an organization with half-baked knowledge and then the organization finding out that you are not a good resource. I would say take your own time. It's totally fine. What's the worst that could happen is that you would possibly lose your job. But as long as you're technically strong, you can always get a job in the market. So keep thinking to yourself that it's totally fine to take your time to learn a particular technology. Don't force yourself to push yourself for a particular timeline. Like within 2 months, I need a job in the cloud space. Or probably I'll go into an organization and then I will start learning the cloud and doing more labs. Of course not. The industry does not work that way. The industry works in such a way that if you are a really good resource, you can always get a job. So which means take the time to ensure that you become a good resource and then you go for any organization's interviews. Okay. So since we spoke about AWS at the start, we will also continue in regards to talking about the Azure platform and how do you get your career started over there. So if suppose you're a person who has already worked with Azure or your organization is working more in regards to Azure's platform rather than AWS. So you need to start your career in Azure. So you do that by starting with the most foundations, which is the fundamentals certification, AZ900, which talks about the infra fundamentals of Azure. You also have data fundamentals, DP900. You have security, identity, and compliance fundamentals, which is SC 900. And then you also have, I think, AI 900, which is artificial intelligence fundamentals. So Azure has four fundamental exams. So ensure that you go ahead and prepare for the AZ 900 to start your career in Azure, and then take a look at all the other fundamental exams. And then you have Azure Administrator, which is AZ 104. And AZ 104 is one more level in depth in terms of the Azure's infrastructure components. So you get to learn more about your Active Directory. You get to learn more about how to create, again, a highly available, fault tolerant network as well as infrastructure for your application. You learn about load balancers in more detail. You learn about Azure's app gateway in more detail. So that exam code is AZ104. And then once you're wrapped up with the administrator exam, which takes another 2.5 months, you can concentrate more on the Azure DevOps, where you talk about Azure boards, you talk about Azure repos, you talk about Azure pipelines, the same set of cloud native DevOps services that you have on the AWS platform. You have the same that you study as part of your Azure DevOps certification, which is AZ 400. Okay. So this again takes another 6 months of your time. So once you start with AWS, you cover 6 months of cloud-based knowledge on the AWS platform. Or if you start with Azure, you cover 6 months of cloud-related knowledge on the Azure platform, and then you move towards Google Cloud Platform. So Google Cloud recently released a digital leader certification, which is the most basic certification of Google Cloud Platform, where you get to know about 45 service offerings. You can follow the in 28 minutes course on Udemy for Cloud Digital Leader. And then one step in advance is where you go ahead and study about the Associate Cloud Engineer syllabus, which talks more in regards to Kubernetes, Docker, and specific GCP services, which you learn in more detail. And that possibly takes another 3.5 months to 4 months of time. So if you're a fast-paced learner, let's say that you spend at least 3 hours a day in terms of your self-learning, which means you spend at least 10 to 12 hours in terms of your organization, and 2 or 3 hours in regards to your self-learning, which is very much possible. If you are at the start of your career, and this video is specifically about how to start your career in terms of catching up to where the industry is, I would ask each and every one of you to spend at least 2 hours or 3 hours every day for your self-growth, or your personal growth, or you can also call it as your personal development plan, which is PDP. So on the whole, all of these certifications, in terms for one person to complete it and get to know the basics and be really strong with the core services, it takes close to 1 year. And the most important aspects is for you to concentrate on labs, practicals, and use cases. And like I mentioned, for example, looking at the AWS workshops page or the solutions page and doing a lot of courses from the skill builder. So every single day, if you want to change your life, if you want to change your career, if you want to move towards the cloud and DevOps space, which is pretty amazing, you need to spend more time. And it's all right. It's completely all right for you to take your own time, because each and every person has their own pace of studies. I may study for 3 hours a day. You may study for 1 hour a day. Another person may just study for half an hour a day. And that's totally fine, because the person who studies half an hour a day could possibly take 2 years to complete all of this. A person who studies 2 to 3 hours a day can take 1 year to complete all of this. So it depends on how fast would you like to go and how fast you would like to grow your career in this space. Because like I said before, the space of cloud and DevOps is pretty amazing, that any person who has 2.5 years of experience with really good cloud and DevOps knowledge, and you can see the previous video in terms of DevOps, that person can easily get up to 20 lakhs per annum with any organization in Chennai, Bangalore, and Hyderabad within India itself. And 20 lakhs is a huge amount. And any person who's 3.5 years plus experience can easily get up to 25 lakhs and so on. So since within just 2 years or 2.5 years, you can get this much of a package, it all boils down to what's your interest and whether you want to do it, the hunger within you, and how systematic and consistent you are over a period of time in terms of molding your career and taking the right decisions that would possibly give you a lot of money. Because for some people, money is a very big motivator. And for some people, it's just the technology, it's just the growth on the technical front that gives them a lot of satisfaction. So you have to decide what kind of a person you are And if you are not studying from today, or if you are not studied until before for yourself, I would like you to start it from today. I would like to see each and every person's career grow to the maximum. You have so many videos out there, so many on the Tamil Cloud platform that we have recorded to give you the right insights. All you have to do is just sit and study and be consistent. Okay. So this is what I wanted to say today in this particular live. I think I'm going to wrap up this live, guys. So have a good day. See you all in the next live. Okay. Take care. Bye bye.